Well, hello there, everybody. How are you all doing? So good to see all of us as I am about to pull us out. So I hope you're on and let's make it happen. It's 420 day. It's an odd day, having lived in Colorado, and many of y'all who do live there already, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I used to have the big, crowds. I remember that up in Boulder. And of course, it's also kind of a sad day that, this is many times of where we know with Columbine. Yeah, my wife was actually a triage nurse in all of that. Imagine that. Holy crap. So as I look upon myself here, and one has my picture and the other doesn't. Well, we'll just go with the flow. That's what John Candy said. Remember that in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? As the mighty river flows, so I go. So, favor to us all. Thank you for tuning in, you marvelous, wonderful, divine light beings, all of you, every one of you. Thank you for your energy and your presence that's made this community what it is, diverse, but yet so much inversed with everybody else. Yeah, it's cool. So, yeah, new shirt. Yeah, so I got the, got the love thing going on. What the world, little needs more is love, sweet love. So, hey, and nothing missing, nothing broken. Be our ever-present reality. And that present reality carries over to the other side. As Morrison used to say, break on through. We are. So happy birthday. If you got one, be of service to others. Bosto, baby. That's what it is. And if your birthday is today, well, remember, it's just an arbitrary number. You were really born much earlier and probably at different times. Technically speaking, it's true. I mean, when does the whole thing? So, hello, moderators and everybody else. London man, how are you doing? Lost in Space. Scott, how you doing? Genetically modified. Jeanette, how you doing? Jackie, I saw Scotty Boy in here earlier. And Deborah, much love to you, darling. So good to see you, Truth Seeker. Jackie, what's up? Chloe, much love to you as well. And Ginger, if you're listening, I know you're probably, I don't know if you've left out or not, but much love to you. Favor surrounds you, darling, as you head on your quest. Truth Seeker, what's up? Morning Star, and man, everybody else. Amongst us, Repetitorous. I love that. I love that. Go. Good to see you. John Price. Eric, this group is, man, we're all over the freaking world. Croatia, London, England, we even got people listening to us in Iran. Hey, that's cool. So what's up, folks? Good to hear you. Lori, good to see you as well. So, got a lot to cover. There's no doubt about it. I thought yesterday's meeting, it was really interesting. I walked away with one, what I call a golden nugget. And thanks, Rurik. Appreciate you and JD and Nina and Sarah. I love that. Truth or faith? Faith is not truth, and truth is not faith. Two separate beasts, if you want to call it that. Truth versus faith. I've had faith in a lot of things. Not really sure how well it worked out, but it's true. And the interesting thing was that, my faith was so engaged because that's the way I was indoctrinated, the brainwashing, faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the evidence of things not seen, the substance, and it's like, okay, but the faith I had wasn't necessarily in the truth. I thought it was the truth. I mean, everybody told me it was the truth, so I thought it was the truth. And when I found it to be not the truth, well, then you've got this thing with faith. You know, faith is, it's amazing. As adolescents, children, they put their faith into something. But that's what neophytes do. I mean, we're all neophytes. I'm not sure if we ever graduate out of that class, because it always seems to be about 3 steps ahead of us. But anyway, you put your faith into it. And then you find out there really is no Santa Claus. You know? No damn Easter bunny. What? You know? So that faith thing, wow, it's powerful. I mean, if you can manipulate an individual, people, a species, by allowing them to build up faith in something, and then when they discover it ain't what they thought it was, especially truth, and what the hell do you do? So, we're going to have fun. I want to cover, last night I was studying, and it's a great thing because with my lovely wife sitting over there, she becomes a sounding board for me. And we're going to get into some pretty cool things. But first, you know, that's the thing about truth. It's so elusive. It was gauged in one of the comments over on JD's channel. An individual was, you know, they always call the other people names. You know, it's always like, you know, if you're so sure, dude, then why the name calling? You know, but history. You see, there's a perception of history that people think are the complete truth, and it's not. But it's amazing how many people will cling to that, because why? Your faith tower come busting down, man. It takes you a while, brother and sister, to begin to put all the shards back up, you know? Or in my case, you just say, well, all right, screw that. Let's wipe the slate clean. Let's start out. So check this out. We're talking about usurpers. Now, as you can see on Wednesdays, it's interesting because the conversation really gets into the deep aspects of what lives within all of us. And, you know, in excess said it the best. The devil is inside all of us. By the way, I like that. Remember that? Bum, 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 bum. Y'all stop dancing now. We're here. So, when you get into this, it's hard because so many people believe that the Bible is absolute. It is the absolute word of God, undisputed, immutable, the word I'm looking for, it's not that, but yeah, it's the bottom line to everything. And it's odd because this weed, it grows and it has so many extensions. I mean, the whole idea of the occult wouldn't exist if there wasn't this other side of the story. Would be no need for it. Then we get into the magic, we get into the spells, we get into the invocations, the calling down, the binding, the loosing. I mean, pick your choice. But we say it's in the Bible. So I just want to present to you, I put this together, and I just thought that it might be interesting for us to ponder as he goes over here. So we're talking about a deity that has assumed a position that it says it was the first one. It says that it doesn't have any equals. It says that without it, none of this would exist. So we get into this thing with the Bible being infallible. That's the word I was looking for. Found it. Anyway, so let's just check this out. So God became angry because they built a tower to reach the heavens. Babel. Tower of Babel. But now he has no problem with the International Space Station. Just saying for a friend. Here's one. Man was created after all the other animals. Genesis 1:25-27. I know those by heart. But isn't it odd, as I have pointed out in Genesis 2, which is a different earth, we're going to find that out, man was created before the other animals. Genesis 2:18-19. So which one is it? I'm confused. I've been dazed and confused for, I mean, come on. Anyone want to care to comment? All y'all in the chat room? Anyone want to comment? So here's one. Whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Acts 2:21. Not everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Matthew 7:21. Well, as the meaning shows. Well, this is awkward. So what is it? And by the way, isn't it odd that in either verse here, they never say what the name is? Calls on the name of the Lord. The Lord is a title. We all know that. Not everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Okay, but they still don't tell us what the name is. Yeah. It says in Exodus 31:17 and Jeremiah 15:16, God is tired and rest. But yet in the book of Isaiah 40:28, it says, God is never tired and never rests. Maybe we're talking about two different gods. I don't know. Here's one. This was in a series, Bible Contradictions number 22. After resurrection, how many disciples did Jesus reveal himself to? Well, answer one is 10, John 20:24. But wait a minute, there's another answer, 2, 11, according to Matthew 28:16-17. Wait a minute, there's yet another one in here. This is Paul's religion. See, Paul never had this thing with Jesus, never walked with him, never knew that he existed, and never talked about him, only talked about him in the existential sense. But anyway, he says in 1 Corinthians, there were 12. Okay. Did the temple curtain rip after Jesus died? Yes. Mark 6:15-37, Matthew 27:50. No, says Dr. Luke. Luke in 23:45-46. Is Jesus the only man who has gone into heaven? According to John 3:13, yes, but no. 2 Kings 2:11 says no. Enoch said he never tasted death. Always wondered, well, then how could Enoch, a fallen man, quote unquote, stand in the presence of a being who says that if it's, you can't stand in the front of? Should homosexuals be executed? Yes, according to Leviticus 20, but no in 1 Kings 15. Does God tempt man? Well, according to Genesis 22:1, yes, but in the book of James, no. Did Jesus curse the fig tree after driving the merchants from the temple? Well, yes, according to the book of Matthew, but it was an odd story because in the book of Mark, no. Were humans created before or after? We already got that one. So it's odd. Talk about the devil. Where is the devil? Well, answer number one is in hell, chained by darkness until judgment. Wait a minute. So if the devil is supposed to be chained already and in darkness, then what is everybody else talking about? And it says, and the angels which kept not their first estate, that's that shape-shifting stuff, but left their own habitation. That means another dimension, another planet. It says he has reserved an everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. But now you got a problem with the book of Job. Everybody knows Job. Well, that's where we get the first reference to this Satan. It says walking around in hell and on earth. And the Lord said unto Satan, and actually this is where part of this deception. This is Jerome's crap going on here. That should be a small s. Said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Well, I'm confused. I thought you were God. Thought you knew everything. Why are you asking me where I came from? Don't you know? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down in it. Now, are they talking about a different earth? Does earth exist in a form, but not specifically in this realm? Don't know. And you got, the horns and the bat things, but the thing about it is Moses had horns too. Let's see, Genesis 32 says, I have seen the face of God. Well, but in John 1:18, 4:12, nobody has seen the face of God. Let's see. Judges 1:19 says the Lord was with Judah, and he drove out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley because they had chariots of iron. I thought he's God. I thought he can make the sun stand still. Are you telling me that he got chased off because some cat had a chariot? But Matthew 19:26 says, but Jesus beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, with God all things are possible, except for chariots. God does not regret, Numbers 23. God regrets creating man, Genesis 6. And in the end, does he regret or not? Who raised Jesus from the dead? Answer one is that Jesus raised himself from the dead. Jesus answered them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. The Jews then said, this temple has been under construction for 46 years, and will you raise it up in 3 days? But he was speaking of the temple of the body. But then it says, let it be known to all and to all the people of Israel that this man is standing before you in good health by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And that's another prot. You see, that wasn't added in for hundreds and hundreds of years later. But hey, anyway, whom you crucified, God raised from the dead. Jesus says all men will be saved, but in Revelation 14, it says only 144,000 virgin men will be saved. God wants all men to be saved, according to 2 Timothy, Paul's protege, but God does not want all men to be saved, John 12:40. So, yeah, get out of this. So, okay. Now, where do we go from there? Well, I like the idea. We're going to finish the that little book, and Guy, I sent you that. I don't have it in PDF. It's in my Kindle. But there is a book that I have covered so many times. I was actually, again, studying out of it. You really should have this book. if you're really one who loves the research, because here's the deal. No human alive has ever seen an original copy of any book of the Old or New Testament. None exist. And the fallacy becomes when you start doing it. In fact, if you read the book, The Search, by Dr. Charles, it shows clearly that, for instance, there was no Mark who wrote the book of Mark. It was kind of an outline. And the thing about it is that it's right in your freaking face. I referred to Mark 16. I mean, it's even admitted that someone else added to that. So the bronze books allow me to get right into this. With the Colburn, I happen to really, really enjoy this book. Just a little background. This is authentic history. We know exactly where this book came from. We know it came from the 22 books of the scribes of Pharaoh. In fact, let me just go over here for a second. And of course, this is the book of creation. This is what I'm going to get to. But Marshall Masters, who I spoke to a number of years ago, did a great job in putting the book here together. But what we do know, and as I go scrolling through here, contains the faithful copies of 11 books of the historical and prophetic anthology, formerly known as the Colburn. The Colburn Bible is an ancient secular academic work. It offers alternative accounts of several stories from the Bible and other wisdom texts. Previously named the Colburn, the work is now titled the Colburn Bible by the publisher. This is because the term Bible accurately defines the work and also has its roots in civilizations that played a critical role in the dissemination. In the classical sense, the term Bible comes from the Greek word Biblia, meaning books, which stems from Babylos. Babylos was an ancient Phoenician port located in what is now the central coast of Lebanon. In their day, Phoenician traders operated the most advanced fleet of ocean-going vessels in the world. And it's amazing how history, when you study history, the Phoenicians are left out. But if it wasn't for these cats, we wouldn't be all in our esoteric stuff, man. These cats, that's what they traded in. It says, before the fall of the Roman Empire, their principal trade routes stretched throughout Mediterranean area, out along the shores of Western Europe, and up as far as Britain. Back then it was called Britannia. Of note to this body of work is the Phoenicians imported papyrus from Egypt and sold abroad along with ancient wisdom texts. In doing so, they distributed the earliest known variants of the Colburn Bible, called the Great Book, to their various ports of call. The Great Book was originally penned in the heretic by the Egyptian academians for the exodus of the Jews. In this book, if you want to, you see, it's amazing. We got this picture of Cecil B. DeMille with Charleston Heston holding up the rod up there. You know, we think that this is the really freaking way it happened. But isn't it how bigoted, racist it is? Because you never hear the other person's side of the story. You only get one. It's a problem. Its original 21 volumes were later translated using the 22-letter Phoenician alphabet, which later spawned the Greek, Roman, and English alphabets of today. The only known copy of the Great Book to survive the millennia was the one exported to Britain by the Phoenicians in the 1st century BCE. Regrettably, much of it was destroyed when the Glastonbury Abbey was set ablaze in 1184. The attack on the abbey was ordered by English King Henry II after he accused the abbey priest of being mystical heretics. Fearing for their lives, the Celtic priests of the abbey fled into hiding with what remained of the Great Book. There, they transcribed the surviving Phoenician translation to bronze sheets and stored them in copper-clad wooden boxes. This effort became known as the Bronze Books. In the 18th century, the bronze books were merged with a Celtic wisdom text called the Cole Book to become the Colburn Bible. So here you go. That was the history of it. So I want to get into their version. And I have to take the Egyptians far more than I would take any Hebrew. I mean, the Hebrews were in Egypt, if you believe the book, their story for nearly 500 years. The question becomes, how did they not be converted and influenced by Egyptian belief systems? Well, they did. So the book of creation, I like this. We're going to get into this. So in the first, as he goes here, come on, there we go. It said, the name which is uttered cannot be that of the great being, who, remaining nameless, is the beginning and the end, beyond time, beyond the reach of mortals, and we, in our simplicity, call it God. Love that. All right, so chapter 1, creation. This is an interesting take. Mortal knowledge is circumscribed by mortal ignorance, and mortal comprehension is circumscribed by spiritual reality. It is unwise for mortal man to attempt to understanding of that which is beyond his conception, for there lies the road to disbelief and madness. Yet man is man, and ever fated to reach out beyond himself, striving to attain things which always just elude his grasp. So in his frustration, he replaces the dimly seen incomprehensible with things within his understanding. If these things but poorly reflect reality, then is not the reflection of reality, distorted through, though it may be, of greater value than no reflection at all? Hey, we do it today. We can't accept anything beyond what we think is reality, no matter what is presented to us. And we'd rather see a distortion, an illusion, than to have to face that what maybe that reality is nothing more than a void. Verse 2, there are no true beginnings on earth, for here all is effect, the ultimate cause being elsewhere. For who among men can say which came first, the seed or the plant? Yet in truth, it is neither. For something neither seed nor plant preceded both, and that thing was also preceded by something else. Always there are ancestors back to the beginning, and back beyond that. There is only God. Then is how these things were told to the great book of the sons of fire. And again, we know God is not the God of the Bible. God, get that out of your head, folks. Someone was thinking, caught you. And isn't it interesting? Because if there's a beginning, now biocentrism, the book, is one that you should get. It's fairly clearly a beginning signifies and implies a beginning of something, which directly correlates to the fact there had to be something before the beginning. Before the beginning, there was an end. And then there was something before the end. There was the beginning. And we've talked about the sons of fire. I did a whole series, on the children of fire. Interesting how it all kind of, one is, genre for interactive role-playing games, when another is saying, well, this is kind of one race of people that were here before anything of the Bible, and they saw something different. Before the beginning, there was only one consciousness, that of the Eternal One, whose nature cannot be expressed in words. It was the one soul spirit, the self-generator, which cannot diminish, the unknown, unknowable one, brooding, solitary, in profound, pregnant silence. God, I love these words. I mean, my head's just going, wow. The unknown, unknowable one, brooding, solitary, in profound, pregnant silence. Wow. I love it. The name which is uttered cannot be that of this great being who, remaining nameless, is the beginning and the end, beyond time, beyond the reach of mortals. And we, in our simplicity, call it God. He who preceded all existed alone in his strange abode of uncreated light, which remains ever unextinguishable, and no understandable eye can ever behold it. The pulsating draughts of the eternal light in his keeping were not yet loosed. He knew himself alone. He was uncontrasted, unable to manifest in nothingness, and for all within his being was unexpressed potential. Love this stuff, man. Come on. I love the soul spirit, the one, the self-generator, pregnant in profound silence. He's the beginning, he's the end, he's beyond time, the reach of mortal. He who preceded all existed alone in his abode of uncreated light. That's darkness, folks. It's just, when that Raymond, when that epiphany hit me years ago, wait a minute. If you're saying you created light, then wait a minute. You're from the dark side. But we're told to fear the dark. Why? It's where everything comes from. And I like the other part. His uncontrasted, unable to manifest in nothingness. For all within his being was unexpressed potential. That lives in you and I, folks. We're going to read this here in a second. Wow. I mean, what I'm realizing is that, holy crap, we really are gods. That's no bullshit. That's no dogma. It's no religion. It's no philosophy. It's no psychology. We are, in essence, gods. Goddesses, I mean, however you want to put it. We have been held down by the usurper to believe that we're less than that. However, in that crazy book, even the Jesus says, did I not call you gods? Okay. The great circles of eternity were yet to be spun out, to be thrown forth as the endless ages of existence in substance. There's that thing, substance, now faith is the evidence of things not seen, the substance. They were to begin with God and return to him completed in infinite variety and expression. Earth was not yet in existence. There was no winds with the sky above them. High mountains were not raised, nor was the great river in its place. All was formless, without movement, calm, silent, void, and dark. No name had been named, and no destinies foreshadowed. Eternal rest is intolerable, and unmanifested potential is frustration. Into the solitude of timelessness came divine loneliness, and from this arose the desire to create, that he might know and express himself, and this generated the love of God. He took thought and brought it into being within himself, the universal womb of creation containing the everlasting essence of slumbering spirit. The essence was quickened by a ripple from the mind of God. A creative thought was projected. This generated power, which produced light, and this formed a substance like unto a mist of invisible dust. It divided into two forms of energy through being impregnated with the Spirit of God and quickening the chaos of the void within the universal womb, became spun out into whirlpools of substance. From this activity, as sparks from a fire, came an infinite variety of spirit minds, each having creative powers within itself. The activating word was spoken. Its echoes vibrate still, and there was a stirring movement which caused instability. A command was given, and this became the everlasting law. Henceforth, activity was controlled in harmonious rhythm, and the initial inertia was overcome. The law divided the materializing chaos from God and then established the boundaries of the eternal spheres. Time no longer slept on the bosom of God, for now there was change. Where before all had been unchanging, and time and change is time. Now within the universal womb was heat, substance, and life, and encompassing it was the word, which was the law. The command was given, let the smallest of things form the greatest, and that which lives but a flash form everlastingness. Thus, the universe came into being as a condensation of God's thoughts, and as it did so, it obscured him from all enclosed within his solidifying creation. Henceforth, God was hidden, for he was already remained dimly reflected in his creation. He became veiled from all that came forth from him. Creation does not explain itself. Under the law, it cannot do so. Its secrets have to be unraveled by the created. And this just gives me hope, man. It just gives me happy feet. Because you know what? God damn it, this isn't this craziness, this stuff that we have found ourselves. There is great liberation in these thoughts. And it puts right there, hey, it's for you to figure out. Not the next guy, not the next gal, not the next angel, demon, not the next God or Savior. You got to figure it out. And what you figure out may not be what I figure out. All things are by nature finite. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. An unaccountable purpose would be eternal frustration. And therefore, the universe being created purposefully, it must have an objective. If it ended without anything else following, then the God existing must slumber indifferent to its activities. But he has made it a living work of greatness operating under the changeless law. The creating word had been spoken. Now there was another command, and the power going forth smote the sun, so its face was lit. Now, I get the idea. This is some sort of fission taking place. I mean, wow. You know, it's kind of like Thor going back to, opening up a star, This is good stuff, man. So its face was lit, and it shone with the great radiance, pouring forth warmth and life upon its sister earth. There you go. Henceforth, she would live within the protection of her brother's household, rejoicing in his benevolence and strength. The waters upon the bosom of earth were gathered together, and dry land appeared. When the covering of water was rolled back, the body of earth was unstable, damp. and yielding. The face of the sun shone down kindly upon his sister, and the dry land of her body became very hard. Humidity and dampness were taken away. He gave her a garment of fleece and a veil of fine linen, that she might clothe her body with modesty. From the great womb had sprung the spirit of life, and it was rampant in the heavens. It gazed upon the earth and saw her fairness, was filled with desire, and came out the heavenly spaces to possess her. It came not peacefully as a lover, but tempestuously as a ravenger. Its breath howled along her corridors and raged among her mountaintops, but it did not discover the dwelling place of her spirit. She had withdrawn as a woman withdraws before force, for modesty must not be outraged in submission. Yet she desired its embrace, for among all the radiant company she was honored. The sun saw her perplexity, and he wrestled with the spirit of life and overcame it. When it was subdued and the primal struggle had ceased, it was delivered by the sun to his sister. It was chastened and quieted, and in silence brooded over the earth's waters. She was stirred in its response. Mud eggs of life potential were formed in the swamps, and at the meeting places of land and the two waters, the sun gave quickening heat, and life crawled forth upon the bosom of the earth. Now I want to move on. It's an interesting story. I'll kind of wrap this up here in the next couple of paragraphs. The land dust brought forth the male, and the dark water missed the female, and they united and multiplied. The first brought forth the second, and the second produced the third. Earth was no longer virgin, and the spirit of life grew old and departed. Earth was left garbed in the matron's mantle of green herbage covered the face of the land. The waters brought forth fishes and creatures which moved about and twisted themselves and wiggled in the water, the serpents and the beasts of terrible aspect, which were of yore, the reptiles which creep and crawl. They were tall walking things, and dragons in hideous form, clothed with terror, whose great bones may still be seen. Go over Mud Fossil University, you'll see it all. So, if you want it, let me know. This is a great book. It talks about the birth of man. It says the love of God penetrated the third veil and became the seed of souls within the soul seed. Now, anything that's in green, this is in the mystery schools. The body of man, God made of water and things of earth, breathing into him the spirit of life that he might live. But man, when young, lived only to eat and drink and fornicate. For being conscious only of earth, he knew only earthly things and earthly ways. Now the Spirit of God moved over the face of the earth, but was not of the earth. It held all things and was in all things, but on earth could not be apart from anything. Without substance, it was awake, but entering substance, it slept. Consider that, which was told by the servants of Evan, the heaven man, who once wandered the earth. He had no earthly substance and could not grasp its fruits, for he had no hands. He could not drink its waters, for he had no mouth, nor could he feel the cool winds upon his skin. They tell how the ape tried, the Sheloch, led by the heaven man, perished by flames before the valley of Laud. Only one she-ape reaching the cave heights above. There was this catastrophic event that happened. When the heaven man was reborn of the she-ape in the cave of woe, could he taste the fruits of the earth and drink of her waters and feel the coolness of her winds? Did he not find life good? Is it not all a tale of the courtyard? Man, created from earthly substance alone, could not know things not of earth, nor could spirit alone subdue him. Had man not been created, who would have known God's wisdom and power? As the spirit fills the body of man, so does God fill his creation. Now, I want to pull us into, give me 1 second, and give me 1 second here, folks. There we go. Now, allow me to go into page 123. Excuse me, as I walk backwards. All right. There's 121. Chapter 11. This is the teachings of Usurper. These are the words for the sons of the true doctrine written in the temple of sacred mysteries at Yunkup in the days of darkness by the unnamed Lord of the secret belief, who then lived. The true knowledge of the teachings and mysteries of the Usurper concerning the spirit within the body, taken from his books and rewritten truly after the custom of writing. Now, so Usurper spoke to his sons in this manner: I am the vice regent of the God of gods. I am the custodian of the books of power. I am the voice of heaven. I am one sent into Temura as the light bearer. Where have we heard that before? That a call may go thence throughout all the lands. Let every man be watchful of his deeds and ways. Whosoever be watchful of himself is a man of wisdom or a woman, for he or she shall be saved from the terror of everlasting darkness. I am the torchbearer running before the chair litter of truth. I came to reveal the greatness of men, to tell them of their immortal selves, of their spirits which have to be ransomed from the doom of devouring darkness. The God of gods spoken to me, saying, long have you dwelt under my shadow and listened to my words. Now arise and go hence to the land where these things of which we have spoken can be established, to a place whither I shall lead you, for it is not proper that those who dwell there should remain uninstructed. Behold, I have given you the secret of immortality. Amazes me and wonders how many maybe on the Silicon Valley Titans, or wonder if they have found these writings. I digress. But know that though all men are born into a heritage of immortality, not all enjoy it. The God of gods, in his infinite mercy, plunges many into the waters of forgetfulness. Yet even from there, they may return to be renewed, not of themselves, but through the supplication of others. This is some deep shit, folks. When Usurper came into Tamarua, he gathered his sons together on the stones beneath the place called Home Tree, and spoke to them in this manner: I am the dawn lighter and the torchbearer for the God of gods. These are my words, which you will do well to absorb, as the dry sands soak up water. Though they are words of wisdom, they are useless unless accepted by men who have control over themselves. They have no value to men who are unable to feel compassion for others or who close their ears to truth. Here we go. You are the few chosen ones, my sons, light of my light, who shall hand the light on down through the generations. To you, I give the true conception of God. To you, I give this standard, that it may be a rallying point for those who will accompany us. For we stand on the borders of a land which has found favor in the eyes of our God. With us are fighting men, but they are few, while those who stand ready to repel us are many. Therefore, we will not set ourselves against them in battle array, but go among them with guile to gather many who will fight with us. You shall be the light of the fighting men, even as I am your light, and the gods of God, my light. So the light that is with me was kindled at the supreme source, which is the God of gods. Therefore, my light shines with such brilliance that it must be veiled in part, lest it blind you. It is even as the sun to be seen through the veil of a cloud. It may be gazed upon for as long as desired. Seen thus, it is a thing of beauty and mystery, not something which burns and consumes the eye of the beholder. Therefore, even as I veil my light from you, so shall your veil, so you veil your light from the eyes of the uninstructed. Yet in all matters not pertaining to the light, you instruct them in the fullness of truth. In all matters concerning their bodies, you shall instruct them in truth. But in matters concerning the Lord of the body, you shall instruct them with a light that is veiled. This is really a big deal, this Lord of the body. It's not written in modern religion. Why? Well, because as we're about to read, and you can see my notes are everywhere. Let's find out about this. Behold the nature of man. Within him is a spark from the divine source, and this is the Lord of the body. This alone is everlasting. This alone of man is his true self. This spark is enwrapped within a heavy mantle of matter. It is enclosed in a covering of earthly clay. This spark alone is the seat of life. It alone has understanding and thought. Such things are not with the clay of the flesh, neither are they kin to the stones from which the bones come. The life within man radiates out from, excuse me, folks, the enclosed spark, and through the blood endows the body with life and heat. Life gives forth heat, and the greater the life, the greater the heat. Gets better. Pardon. Dry throat. As the sun gives light and fire spreads heat, as the flower radiates perfume, so does the central light give forth a vaporous, unseeable glow. And this our fathers called the breath of God. This breath comes forth in two manifestations. There is a heavy form and a light form. And from these, all things are compounded. From the one comes the sacred glow in its two aspects, which men call the breath of God. And from this are made all things which are in heaven and earth. Excuse me. Above is the God of gods, and below him are heavens and earth. Heaven is divided in twain. There is a place of light and a place of darkness. Within the place of light dwells the spirits of God, the spirits of good, and within the place of darkness dwell the spirits of evil. Between them, the boundary is not fixed, but flows back and forth according to their fluctuating strengths. But they who abide in the light shall always prevail, for light will ever dispel darkness. Therefore, those who dwell in darkness withdraw before the brilliance of those who dwell in the light. This light and darkness are not such as men can understand, for it is not the light and the darkness known on earth. Wow. Before the gates of heaven is the land of the horizon, whence go all who depart from their earthly body. From here, there are two great gates. One leads to the place of light and the other to the place of darkness. And the Lord of the body is admitted into the appointed place according to its likeness. he who is filled with the light and cannot go to the place of darkness, for it would draw back before him. Neither can he who is a dark one, can go into the place of light, for there he would shrivel before the light, as the white worm coming forth from the damp darkness of its hole shrivels in the light of the sun. Between heaven and earth there is a great gulf, across which dwellers in heaven may not return, but earth is not wholly beyond their reach. Man receives from the place of light that which influences him for good, and from the place of darkness that which affects him for evil. These things may be written, but the secret things concerning them may not be recorded in such manner that they come to the knowledge of unenlightened men. That which comes from heaven, whether influencing for good or evil, comes forth as shades in the likeness of men, which is rare, or much more akin to lucum, which are like unto motes. It may also come as waves of air, but not air such as we breathe and feel. It is something altogether different in nature. Things come forth which are not stable, and these are formless ones. All things are held in form by the breath of God, which changes formlessness, but the formless ones can alter form into instability. I have this marked for a reason. There are three great spheres, and that containing the earth is held together by the great glow outflowing from the God of gods. That part of the great glow, which is light and contains life, is called manna, which, while that which is heavy and contains the flesh of things of the earth, is called manu. The one who is the God of the gods is so great that he cannot be defined in the speech of men, neither can they conceive him in their thoughts, for he is beyond their understanding. Mortal man has limitations. Therefore, let men conceive him as they will. It is of no importance, providing their conception serves both his purpose and the glorification of man. Man is not yet great, and until he becomes so, it will that he worship the many God forms conceived within his thoughts, providing they be such as tend to raise him above himself. Interesting. There's many different gods. And apparently the litmus test is, do they bring you up or do they push you down? If they're pushing you down, man, shake it off. Says providing that they attend to run, nor do ritual and worship do harm of themselves unless they too thickly overlay the truth so it is buried from sight. Ritual and outward forms of worship can be aids to purification of thought and provide a kind of subsistence for the Lord of the body. What are lesser gods, beloved by unawakened men, but thought-conceived friends and guides? Yet this is a dangerous path men tread, balanced between light and darkness. Therefore, when man wanders towards the abyss of darkness, reveal a little more light that he may see and so return to the path. Beware, too, lest he follow gods that are false guides and would lure him into the quicksand of carnality or into the wilderness of ignorance. Bam. All right. I had more to go, but time. Yeah. So anyway, throwing that out there, let me just, when you read, for instance, and I'll just show this quickly. And like I said, I do not have this in PDF form. But in this story that we have here of the usurper, who's taking the position of whoever this other being is, And wouldn't it make sense, because the warning was given to us that if you follow a god and it takes you into that dark place while telling you it's light, then yeah, shine a more light. That's all I got to say. But anyway, in this book here, it's real interesting because this one goes through and really shows you how this usurper works. And it's interesting. It says that it desires obedience over sacrifice. Obedience is the key thing, and you can't waver one way or the other, or you're going to get smacked. So anyway, that's what I love about this group. I mean, I really encourage you to get this. And it talks about, again, what happens when the Hebrews left Egypt. It was a ship, folks. It wasn't a planet. This being, it exists in ships. Now, they're big. I mean, they are big, as we found out in the story of the destroyer. We'll have to get into this one. It always fascinates when I read this. O sentinels of the universe who watched for the destroyer, how long will your enduring vigil last? O mortal men who wait without understanding, where will you hide yourselves in the days of the dread days of doom, when the heavens shall be torn apart and the skies rent in twain, and in the days when children will turn gray-headed? Talks about this thing coming in, and it's apparently almost like a Death Star. I mean, this thing, it has the ability to disrupt the electromagnetic field. It has the ability of using elements that I don't even think we're aware of here. It definitely uses plasma. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just, have you seen the pictures in Saudi Arabia? I'll have to dig those up, where the top of the mountain is burnt. A ship landed there. And the Saudis have they closed it for a long, long time. I believe I heard they have reopened it. And you get to see the actual writings of this group of people. And I mean, there's sigils everywhere. Holy crap. I can only, I don't know if we could imagine what it must have been like. It said when this ship landed, came down on the mountain, that it produced a sound that drove all men and animals deaf, crazy. So anyway, let's see, was it, Yosley says Ron White was arrested at that mountain. Yes, indeed. Interesting story, Yosley. I'm glad you're here. How you doing, my friend? It's a freaking fascinating story. I mean, the pictures that they brought out. So something happened. I mean, there's no doubt that Yahweh, Baal, whoever it was not a god. It had technology that would make you very quickly think it is God. I mean, you think what Star Trek brought, teleportation. 100 years ago, that would be almost, miraculous. One day we're getting closer and closer in how to manipulate and break down the atoms to reassemble them. We'll get there, maybe. All right, folks, this has been fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's a lot of reason for hope. There really is. And each of us contain that spark of immortality. We're not going to die. We'll transform, transfigure. It's cool. That's what we do. It's what we always do. And our length of time in these bodies, in the bigger picture of things, is less than a blink of an eye. So live the life out. Talk to your body. Your body, I've told you this before, your body has a spirit. It ain't you. And you know what happens if you ignore something or someone long enough? They disappear. So anyway, thank you, Deborah. I kind of liked it too. Hey, Lost in Space, what's up? And I apologize for my voice. It just was talking too much. Kent, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Love will find a way. Mary wins every time. All right, folks. Thank you for going in overdrive, a little overtime. But hey, we'll be picking up right here tomorrow. So much love. Keep smiling. And as the cowboy says, happy trail.